Trap, a cultural movement for the hustlers. But where does it come from? Where is it now? And where is it going? What inspires the music and what defines it? Trap is a slang term as a place where drugs are sold. The use of the word trap comes from the cyclical cycle of logistical, physical, and legal issues that occur from selling illegal drugs. Entering a lifestyle that you can't remove yourself from. In other words, a trap. This lifestyle of trapping has created a culture in which people have to hustle in order to make a better life for oneself and their family. This mindset has always represented the larger culture of impoverished, racially marginalized people, forced to work in a system within society that is meant to fail or prohibit success and equal opportunity. So where did it begin exactly? Well, that's a rough question, but Atlanta had been credited as the city that propelled trapping to the mainstream, so we'll use it as an example. Trap culture in Atlanta began with the construction of the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, as well as a set of major highways known as the Spaghetti Junction, which created a lot of places to hide, making Atlanta a great spot for drug trafficking. As a result, residential houses in lower-income neighborhoods were repurposed as trap houses to fuel the economic process of trapping. Trap houses acted as a kitchen and home base for business, so they also doubled as hangout spots that held homemade recording studios, which is where trap music began. Trap music is another form of hustling, used as another mode to make money, created by the lifestyle. Trap is a soundtrack to the streets, so it reflects aspects of street activity. The recipe to creating a trap song is a southern drawl, attitude, and prevalent references to the characteristics or spendability of women, and the economic process behind drug trafficking, as well as other socioeconomic factors that define a person of color's experience within the trap. Drake David explains that the trap in the early 2000s wasn't a genre. It was a real place. It soon transformed into a handy adjective to describe the kind of rap music made about that place, and the artists that have actual experience or represent their neighborhoods they speak about, make them as much politicians as musicians. As more MCs emerged from trap houses, they began to garner fans and attention from critics who officially coined the term trap rap and gave the music a genre that showcases the trap and what one has to do within it. Trap music began to break through into the mainstream media through white pop culture, with the emergence of Atlanta rapper T.I., born as Clifford Joseph Harris Jr. While he wasn't the first to create trap music, his success with his record Trap Music in 2003 is undeniable. Since TIP, other artists have now gained acclaim and large amounts of money due to their sonic. Trap music made another jump into white mainstream media in the late 2000s when rap trio Migos debuted their track Versace, which highlighted the use of traditional African rhythmic triplet that now defines the expected sound of mainstream trap. The significance of introducing this new rhythm into the mainstream shifted music and challenged the rhythms and counts society was used to, similarly to the ideas that trap introduced. Now the mainstream market has become saturated with artists whose music is categorized as mumble rap and is critiqued as ubiquitous. The expected aspects of a trap beat include a combination of an 808 snare, a tempo of over 150 beats per minute, a simple bell melody, fast hi-hats, snaps, and/or claps, and a heavy kick drum to provide the bounce that you feel in your speakers. All these aspects come together to create the now iconic sound of trap music. Now let's take a look at the music videos. Early trap videos also depict the hustler lifestyle. Visual elements in a trap video include the artist's fellow crew members, semi-automatic pistols or other firearms, drugs, mainly cocaine, codeine, and marijuana, stacks of money, and women. Now that trap has become mainstream in the modern era, the videos heavily cater to the white male consumer base and now follows a formulaic pattern. The elements of a video include the profits of the trap business in the form of larger sums of cash, cars, clothes, or jewelry, possible drug use, and the most important aspect, women. Strippers, dancers, video hoes have been mentioned in the songs, but now are given visibility and are depicted in the most mainstream trap videos. Artists have more money to spend on their videos, so they are able to improve their production value as well as increase outside talent in the form of females, and heavily rely on the female presence. When it comes to trap music, we are only concerned with male responses to female sexuality, as opposed to deconstructing or understanding the narrative of those women. Beneath it all, it is almost romanticized, black and white notion of the trap being a site for violence and crime, a place where no good and no feminism can come out of. Preconceived notions about race, class, and sexual expression permeate and allow us to only see these spaces as oppressive and unproductive. That doesn't have to be the case. These are the trap feminists, the strippers, dancers, video hoes, MCs in any combination, variation, or form. Similarly to hip-hop, there are many subcategories within feminism. Within those categories, there are different ways women chose to represent themselves as a feminist. Each woman has her personal truth, and a choice to articulate identity and life events. Trap or hip-hop feminism are examples of these subcategories. Hip-hop feminism as a social construct is defined by Alicia Durham in using Living Hip-Hop Feminism, redefining an answer to rap as a socio-cultural, intellectual, and political movement to recognize culture as a pivotal site for political intervention, to challenge, resist, and mobilize collectives to dismantle systems of exploitation. Gwendolyn Poe defined a hip-hop feminist in her article, What It Do, Shorty? Women, Hip-Hop, and a Feminist Agenda, as more than just someone who likes to listen to rap music and feels conflicted about it, but as someone who is immersed in hip-hop culture and experiences hip-hop as a way of life. Hip-hop as a culture, in turn, influences his or her worldview or approach to life. Hip-hop and feminism are intertwined because both are social movements fueled by issues of gender, race, and class oppressions. Unfortunately, due to the lack of representation of women of color in media, male rappers have become the popular platform for which to showcase the female culture. There are inherent issues to having one social group speak for another, and as a result of unrealistic standards, exploitation of women of color, and misrepresentation due to limited representation, hip-hop feminism was born. Trap feminists are similar to hip-hop feminists in the way that they are women that live within the culture of hip-hop and find empowerment within their role of hip-hop. But what sets trap feminists apart is that it shows females hustling in many forms, whether it be stripping or rapping, about the negative implications of the trapping lifestyle. But more than just female voices within hip-hop, trap feminist lyrics offer a culturally specific glimpse of women on the come-up. They create a narrative that portrays women also trapping. Trap feminists are women negotiating sexuality, power, and money. Trap feminism acknowledges that a reference to a woman as a bitch does not necessarily erase her autonomy. Trap feminism creates a space that would rather examine consent than fixate on the use of the word hoe. Because feminism is about living with contradictions. People outside of hip-hop culture denounce hip-hop feminism because hip-hop feminists refuse to conform to traditional and frequently hostile mainstream white feminism with hard rules. Hip-hop feminists seek to create rather than critique other women's actions. The stereotype associated with white feminism as being exclusive to women-hating men, as well as white heterosexual women profiting from feminism, while others struggle for representation, has caused many women of color to detach from identifying as a feminist. Because, as discussed in Roxane Guy's article, Feminism, plural, most problems that arise during social movements are blamed on the idea that fuels the organization, rather than the people who act in the name of that sect. The ideology of feminism is critiqued rather than the apparent hierarchy of the representation in mainstream media. The amount of visibility in the media has a direct correlation to the amount of representation within popular culture, even if the concepts presented are inaccurate. One of the many misrepresented concepts within our society is sexuality, more specifically, Black women's sexuality. In Torted Genealogy of Black Female Sexuality, The Problematic of Silence, by Evelyn M. Hammonds, Black women's sexuality is known as the unspeakable, unspoken. The mindset began with Sarah Bartman, known to many as the Hottentot Venus. The hypersexualization of Sarah Baartman transferred over to other women that were considered to be property. Prostitutes were also thought of as property. Therefore, the stereotypes and negative perceptions of slaves and prostitutes intermingled, and were then perpetuated by Victorian culture, politics of silence, and cultural dissemblance. All of these factors set up the culture to be displaced in other areas, specifically music, which seems to be the only place where women of color are heard or seen. Blues singers were pioneers who received great acclaim through their vocal skill and fostered discussion about Black sexuality through their songs. Hip-hop is another musical platform that women are able to express their typically heterosexual desires. The female presence in hip-hop was essential for the culture to grow and continue to thrive. Female MCs have to work arguably much harder than their male counterparts to be heard and taken seriously in the music industry. And the alternative to obscurity for female MCs is to be the loudest and sexually proudest in order to be heard. As a result, the perceptions of women in or related to hip-hop have been embraced as Black cultural products but denied of complexity, coherence by the mainstream. Trap feminism is a mosaic medium in which one can explore the world as a sexual being and not a victim of society, because it also allows women to talk about the benefits and negatives of sex, relationships, and society without consequence, as well as past, present, and future of representation in media and within the patriarchy. Female MCs have been constantly redefining women's culture by speaking out against political silence through starting their own record companies, writing and producing their own explicitly fuck the patriarchy tracks. In Hip Hop is More Than Just Music to Me, Gwendolyn Poe discusses how, as a result of gender prejudice, female MCs have reversed the degrading language used by male rappers into an empowering message by reclaiming derogatory phrases and disassociating themselves from negative images. The act of reclaiming the word bitch or hoe highlights the lyrical talent and tenacity of female MCs. Females use their performance as platforms to disassemble or challenge any incorrect versions of their culture to seek empowerment and correct and equal representation. Artists like Princess Nokia, Debrat, etc. are all examples of trap feminists. They acknowledge their heritage, their hustle, and their sexuality as a means of expression and a way to pay the bills. Trap feminists find agency within the limited resources inside a social construct that's built for them to fail. It is important to hear different perspectives of why these women chose their specific career paths within the hip-hop industry. And we cannot have conversations about the video vixens or hoes without their input, because some women feel empowered through these showcasing of the bodies, and they shouldn't be shamed for that decision. But it is essential to not overlook the negative effects of visual representation of women in hip-hop videos. Hypersexual representation of women of color in various forms of media can cause emotional and cultural damage, and the ones profiting the most from their exploitation is the male rappers. Michelle Wallace, in her article, When Black Feminism Faces the Music and the Music is Rap, poses the question, within the discussion of both male and female roles within feminism, is sexism a necessary evil within the hip-hop industry? While it can come across as divisive to many Black feminists, it ultimately isn't counterproductive to denounce misogyny and rap publicly, because there's so many other facets of society where women are portrayed as secondary. Additionally, the motivations to many rap songs are complex, and a lot of degrading language is used to conceal underlying issues of the rapper. Trap and hip-hop feminism can counteract these effects through knowledge, empowerment, and representation. As well as the conflict and contradictions that arise out of people's lived experiences and their political standpoints, as well as the perceived versus the reality, the theory also empowers those with experiences to reflect their honest opinion and personal narratives to a broader sociocultural audience in order to combat sexism, racism, and misogyny. Trap feminism supports women saying yes, saying no, or saying how much you got.
Gotta get it, work it, flip it, spend it, make it back. Ooh, gotta get it, work it, flip it, spend it, make it back. Ooh. get it, work it, flip it, spend it, make it back. Ooh, gotta get it, work it, flip it, spend it, make it.